Hello students, in Morphology of Flowering Plants, we are on the Morphology of Flower and we have completed with the calyx and the corolla. Now let us move on to the Androecium. Androecium is the male reproductive whorl of the flower, individual members of which are known as the stamens. What is the function of this whorl? Function is production of pollen grains. Some of the stamens within the flower may not be able to produce pollen grains. They are sterile stamens, and such sterile stamens are known as staminodes. Sterile stamens are known as staminodes. Do not produce pollen grain. Now we will look at the structure of the stamen. This is a typical stamen. There are two parts in it. This long elongated structure is known as the filament, and this structure on top is known as the anther. The anther has two lobes on it. These are its two lobes. Typically, there are two lobes in the anther. There are some families like Malvaceae family in which a typical stamen will have only one lobed anther. However, in most of the other plant families, a typical stamen has bilobed anthers. Typical stamen is said to be bilobed. These lobes are also known as theca, and as such a typical stamen may also be called as bilobed / Dithecous structure. Dithecous. Theca, named after the two theca. Now let us take a cross section of this anther. Let us cut the anther and we will see what is there inside. TS of anther. Look here. This is the first lobe and this is the second lobe, and it will be attached from behind to the filament. This is the first lobe / theca. Inside each lobe you will find that there are such kind of chambers which will be filled with pollen grains. So considering the two lobes of the anther, 4 such kind of chambers will be found. These chambers are known as pollen chambers, also known as pollen sacs. They are also known as Microsporangia. Microsporangium singular. Remember why they called as Microsporangia? Because the pollen grains are also known as microspores. You know this from the chapter Plant Kingdom, and they are haploid. Pollen chambers are actually the bags, geum means bags, which carry the microspores. Bags containing microspores. That's why these bags are called as Microsporangia. Okay, singular Microsporangium. And as such, a typical stamen will be bilobed / Dithecous and Tetrasporangiate structure. So a typical stamen is going to be a bilobed and Tetrasporangiate structure. Tetra means 4. The stamens inside the flower can be either freely present or they can be fused. If they are free, that condition is known as a polyandrous condition. Like how calyx and corolla were also free and fused. What were free calyx called? Polysepalous condition, and fused sepals was called gamosepalous condition. Similarly, for petals, there was polypetalous and gamopetalous condition. Similarly, over here, for stamens, there is the polyandrous condition. Also, there is gamoandrous condition, but that term is not there for you. In NCERT, only this term is given, polyandrous condition. Next, fused stamens. With fused stamens, the stamens can either be fused with other stamens within the flower, or else they can be fused with some other whorl of the flower. So there are two conditions associated with fused stamens: with other stamens, or they can be fused with members of other whorls. When stamens are fused with other stamen, that condition is known as cohesion, and when they are fused with members of the other whorls, that condition is called as adhesion. So we have cohesion and we have adhesion. Let us look at each one of them one by one. Stamens can fuse with other stamens of the flower to form either one bundle, or they can be grouped into 2 bundles, or they can be grouped into multiple bundles. Either one bundle, 2 bundles, or more than 2 bundles. Accordingly, we have 3 situations. Stamens are in one group, as seen in case of hibiscus. You've seen this thing for hibiscus, isn't it? These things that you see arranged, these are the stamens here. These are the stigma and this is the ovary. What is the situation over here is that these stamens have fused together at their filaments. Okay, they have fused together at their filaments and they have formed this tubular structure inside which there will be the style in order to protect the style. All of these stamens are fused together to form one bundle. That condition is known as the Monadelphous condition. Example, hibiscus. Next, in case of pea flower, there are 2 bundles. There are total 10 stamens. 9 of them are present together as one bundle and 1 stamen is present as the second bundle. There is 9 plus 1 situation there, and there are total 2 bundles. If one bundle is called as Monadelphous condition, 2 bundles will be called as Diadelphous condition. 2 groups. Example P. Then, in case of flowers belonging to citrus like lemon, orange, lemon flower is a nice beautiful 5-petal flower. On each of these petals there are 5 bundles of stamens. 5 groups of stamens. More than 2 bundles of stamens, that will be called as a Polyadelphous condition, wherein there are more than 2 groups. Example, citrus. So that was the fusion of the stamens with other stamens. Now we will look at adhesion. The stamens can be fused with other floral whorls, okay, like petals. Or else, in case a flower has perianth, the stamens will be fused with the tepals. Stamens fused with petals. Example, brinjal and potato. That condition is known as Epipetalous condition. In the second case, the stamens may be fused with tepals. What are tepals? Individual members of perianth. Example, in case of lily. If the stamens are fused with petals, it's called Epipetalous condition. If they are fused with tepals, that will be called as Epipetalous condition, which is seen in case of lily. Epipetalous condition is also known as Epiphyllous condition. So that was about fusion of the stamens, cohesion and adhesion. Next, with respect to free stamens, that is one thing that we need to learn. That is variation of the length of stamens. Variation in the length of stamens. There are 2 scenarios here. Look over here. This is seen in case of plant called salvia. Very interesting mechanism. There are 2 long stamens and 2 short stamens. They are free stamens, 2 long, 2 short. And in this case, you see this in case of mustard, there are 4 long stamens, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 short stamens outside. And the naming for these is done according to the long stamens. Since here there are 2 long stamens, this condition is known as Didynamous condition. So the second condition will be called as Tetradynamous condition. In case of salvia, this Didynamous condition is very interesting. There are 2 long stamens like this and 2 short stamens like this, okay? And they have a liver kind of a mechanism. When the insect tries to enter inside the flower, it tends to push against these short stamens. These are actually staminodes, the small stamens, alright? And when it pushes these short stamens inside, the long stamens will just tap themselves onto the back of the insect, okay? Such that all the pollen grains will be attached to the body of the insect because of a liver kind of a mechanism. So that is the Didynamous condition that is quite popular in salvia. And mustard has this Tetradynamous condition. Important, it was asked for NEET. All these examples are important under this section. So quick recap, stamens can be either free or fused. If they are free, that's called Polyandrous condition. If they are fused, it is called Gamoandrous condition, but this term is not there for you. Fused stamens can either be fused with each other or they can be fused with other floral parts. If they are fused with each other, that's called as cohesion. If they are fused with other floral parts, that's called as adhesion. Cohesion of the stamens can be in 1 bundle, 2 bundles, or more than 2 bundles. 1 bundle, Monadelphous condition, example hibiscus. 2 bundles, Diadelphous condition, example seen in P, 9 plus 1 situation. And more than 2 bundles seen in case of citrus flowers, Polyadelphous condition. Next is adhesion, attachment of the stamens with other floral whorls. If the stamens are attached with petals, that's called Epipetalous condition, example brinjal and potato, Solanaceae family. And attachment of the stamens with the tepals is called as Epipetallous condition, also called as Epiphyllous condition, example is lily. Epiphyllous, lily, lily, Epiphyllous. Remember from that. Next we see the variation in the length of the stamens. If there are 2 long, 2 short stamens, that's called as Didynamous condition, example salvia. And if there are 4 long stamens and 2 short stamens, that's called as Tetradynamous condition, seen in case of mustard. So that is all from Androecium. In the next lecture, we will look at Gynoecium.
In the name of Lord Mahadev, please subscribe.